Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly. Well, the holidays are behind us, so hopefully everyone's starting to settle in and get back to their routines, ready to take on this new year. So that's what we're talking about in this episode. We've got all sorts of tips and tricks to help you be your best self in 2022. So it's always safety first, right? So we've got some tips on how you can resolve to be ready this year. Lose the excuses, the time to start is right now. So here are the things you can do to prepare for whatever 2022 throws at us. Make a family emergency plan. Discuss it regularly with all members of your family, even your children. Build an emergency supply kit. Bulk up on pantry items with non-perishables, water, get those portable chargers and flashlights, and have a supply of medication and other necessities. Start an emergency fund so that you're ready for potential financial impacts of any disaster. Gather critical financial paperwork and make sure you always have a small amount of cash on hand. And finally, we are the city that cares, and when disaster strikes, it takes the community coming together to help one another get back on their feet. So take the time now to connect with your neighbors. See how you can help each other out before, during, and after an emergency. Bring them some cookies, maybe. Sweeten them up a little bit and get to know the people who live in your neighborhood. You can get all the details on what you should put in your emergency kits and how to write that emergency family plan at ready.gov. And we do also hope that you'll sign up for Chesapeake Alert. You can do that at cityofchesapeake.net/Chesapeake Alert. That will allow us to be able to get in touch with you when disaster strikes. Now, if you've resolved to learn a new skill in 2022, Chesapeake Public Libraries has everything that you need. In addition to having books on every single subject, they have tons of online programs that are available for free for those who have a library card. One really great one is LinkedIn Learning. So this is great if you're trying to learn a new skill this year. Here's a short clip from one of our newer shows called Library Life, all about LinkedIn Learning.
Today we're here to talk about LinkedIn Learning, and definitely is a great online resource for the new year, new you. There are so many classes on LinkedIn Learning. I think there's like over 10,000 ways to do professional development. There are wellness type classes. There are classes on, I already said professional development, but there's creative classes, there are technology classes, there are business classes. I was just looking at it, and I can't even decide which way I want to go for my new me.
Right. So there's always those things that we put off, like I really need to learn to use Excel better, or I would like to know a little bit more about how to manipulate documents in Word. Mm-hmm. This is a great way to be able to do that, to stop putting it off and go to LinkedIn Learning.
Oh yes, most definitely. There is definitely classes in Microsoft Office. Even myself, I feel like I know Word and Excel a bit, but there are things like I've never learned how to do a pivot table in Excel. And so you can actually search for Excel classes, you can browse for it, or you can do a quick search in LinkedIn Learning for the Excel. And they actually have either full courses, or you can even break it up. They have like even little chapters where you can look specifically for that pivot table if that's something you wanted to learn.
And maybe if my new year is to explore being an entrepreneur, that passion that I have, I want to start my own business somehow, but I am so overwhelmed with the idea. This would be another great place to go.
Oh, definitely. They have sections on small business and entrepreneurship. Again, you can browse underneath the business, or you can do a search for those keywords. And the great thing too, they have these things called learning paths, so if you're specifically looking for like how to be better in marketing, or with small business entrepreneurship, how to be better in sales, or even in recruiting. Like right now, if you're trying to recruit new people to your team, these learning paths can take you in different directions, and they pull in classes from the different directions in terms of whether you need to be more creative or business or accounting, human resources. There's, again, the wide varieties, but it sort of focuses you in the direction you need to go.
And what I think is important about it is if I wanted to get a better job, so I wanted to improve my resume in a way that I could get a better job, I want to take that next leap, but I can't afford to go to school. I could use LinkedIn Learning as a way to build my resume, and because you get certificates, right?
Oh yes, definitely. So not only does it even like help you learn how to maybe even create your resume, they have classes on that. But these classes, if you are looking to increase your skill level or improve your professional, you can save these classes. You have these certificates that kind of show that you've taken these classes, and so you have that in your arsenal basically. The other thing, and I don't want to scare you a little bit, but I did look up how to rock that interview last night. Doesn't really help with today's interview, but again, it was just one of those things to help you in regards to finding that next job.
Right. So the things that make us nervous, there's a great way to build our skills, to build our resumes, and to get even better so that whatever that next step is for us this year, we're ready to make it.
You can see the rest of that interview online at youtube.com/Chesapeake Television, as well as other episodes of Library Life. We've got all of that on there for you. Now, also some new things coming out from the libraries this year. They have changed their hours for some of those library branches. So let's go over those changes now. For Central Library, Greenbrier Library, and Russell Memorial, they're going to be open from 9 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, and then 1 to 5 on Sunday. No, Indian River Library and the South Norfolk Memorial Library will be open from 10 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5, Friday and Saturday, and then 1 to 5 on Sunday. And Major Hillard Library and the Dr. Clarence Cuffey Outreach and Innovation Library are going to be open 10 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5, Friday through Saturday, and they will be closed on Sunday. Now remember, there are 2 self-service kiosks here in Chesapeake, and of course the libraries are hoping to install more here in the near future. So those 2 are located, there's one at Fire Station 7, that's down on South Battlefield, that's the combination fire station and police precinct 6. And there's also one at the Cuffey Outreach and Innovation Library. And those kiosks can be accessed 24/7. They're kind of like book vending machines. So those are other really cool options. And of course, for 24-hour service, you can always check out ChesapeakeLibrary.org. All right, let's get some tips for being your best self in 2022 when it comes to your health. So we really can't talk about resolutions without talking food, exercise, sleep, all that kind of wellness. And for that, we went to the City of Chesapeake's wellness coordinator, Kayla Sykes. She was able to give us some tips and tricks to help us really shape up this year. So here she is with some tips on staying healthy.
I think that the biggest thing that I always preach is to focus on real food. So, there's a lot of different diets out there that say, just eat cabbage all of the time and you'll be fine. But you should focus on something that you're actually going to stick to. So, find foods that you enjoy that are healthy. So for me, I have a struggle with vegetables, but I really like broccoli and green beans. So I stick with those mostly. But then I usually eat like a lot of fruit. So, finding what works for you is going to be best, because a lot of people, they have this, oh, I'm going to do so great this year. I've got this fresh start. And then, you get started on something that you don't enjoy, you're not going to stick with it. So just finding, the foods that you like, and then of course the exercises that you like. If you enjoy tennis or you just like going for walks, then do those things. Don't force yourself to do 30 minutes a day on the treadmill if that's not something that you enjoy.
And of course, we also talked about my favorite activity, sleep, a very important thing to consider as you're trying to really be your best self this year.
Aiming for 7 to 8 hours a night. I think that especially people with kids may not be able to achieve that, or if you just have a really busy schedule, maybe you're working more than one job, that you're like, yeah, I wish I could get 7 hours of sleep, but sleep should be a priority. I think that sometimes people maybe, you finally at the end of the day, you get like that time to yourself and you're like, oh, I just need to take time to myself. And so you end up scrolling on Facebook for an hour before bed. Well, that's an hour that you could have been sleeping. So making sleep a priority is definitely important.
And a few other takeaways from my conversation with Kayla. So she said that you should really focus on limiting caffeine, alcohol, and screen time, Drink plenty of water, and of course, don't forget about your mental health. Take breaks, take some time outside, maybe try a meditation app. Lots of options out there for you, but don't forget to also consider your mental health. All right, let's talk a little bit less about ourselves and a little bit more about the environment around us. So perhaps one of your resolutions this year is to be better to the environment, to go green. Well, we have just the person to go to for that. It's Parks, Recreation, and Tourism's Megan Hale. She gave us these tips on how to be green in 2022.
I would say, if we can cut out some of our single-use plastic items in our lives, so maybe if we get some takeout items, we can say no thanks to the plastic utensils or a plastic straw, start bringing our own water bottles, our own coffee mugs. Waste reduction in general can be really helpful, so if we can throw less things in the trash, if we wanted to start an at-home composting pile, it can be done really easily for homeowners and folks that have yards. For folks that are in apartment buildings or condos, or maybe with a small lawn footprint, we can do worm composting, which can be done inside.
And while we're talking green things, don't forget about the annual Chesapeake Environmental Awards program. So they're accepting nominations now through January 15th. They're looking for businesses, organizations, and individuals, both young and old, who should be recognized for their beautification, litter control, or other environmental projects. You can learn more about that and submit your nominations at cityofchesapeake.net/CEIC. Well, Chesapeake Central Fleet Management has the challenge of working on all of the city vehicles while still trying to stay green. Now, that's no easy task, but somehow our Central Fleet Management always rises to the occasion. And this past year, they won an award, a national award for that. So in 2021, they were recognized as the #1 green garage in the Green Garage contest with the National Fleet Management Association. So while we're talking all things green, we got to give a little shout out to our fleet services division who works on all of the vehicles that we have here in the city for not only doing great work there, but also keeping all of their practices green. And finally, one last tip for 2022 is to maintain your home properly so that you can save money in the long run. One of the biggest ways to almost literally flush money down the toilet is to have a leaky toilet. That's one of the leading causes of very high water bills. It's easy to happen and it often goes unnoticed. So here's Public Utilities Director David Juergens with more.
So the real main cause for water bills to go up, other than that normal usage, is water leaks. And typically the most common water leak we see in our business is a leaking toilet. And there's two different types of leaking toilets. There's the almost completely invisible one, and that's where the flapper goes down, but it doesn't go down quite all the way, and there's just a little trickle of water coming out of the tank into the bowl. And then about every 5-6 minutes, the float will go down in the tank to where it causes the tank to fill up some more. And you'll hear water run for about 30 seconds, and then it'll stop. In my house, I'm the only person that has ever heard that happen. I've had it happen to 6 different toilets or multiple times to the same toilets in the last 5 years. Not a single other soul has ever heard it because I'm kind of in tune to the water business for some reason. So that's the invisible toilet leak, and that can run you $10, $15, $20 a day with that silent, because it happens every 5 minutes and it runs for 30 seconds every 5 minutes kind of deal. So that's the most common type of leak, and that one's invisible. The other type of leak is a little louder, and that's when the flapper gets stuck open and the toilet just runs full bore. A friend of mine had one of those in his house. His teenager was using the toilet, used it at night before he went to bed. It ran all night long. My friend discovered it in the morning. That was $100. One night running full bore, 8 gallons a minute, running for 10 hours, it can be a $100 addition to your water bill in one night of a toilet leaking. So don't let those things sit. Fix them.
That's all we've got for this week. We wish everyone a very healthy 2022. Just a reminder, we are still in the depths of COVID, so some other good tips on being your best you in 2022 is continue to wash your hands, and of course, if you're sick, just stay home. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.